Hey everyone, welcome to Petrol Vectors. My name's Dan. And firstly, thank you to the new subscribers that have joined recently. Just a quick recap on what I do on this channel. It's mainly drawing, vector graphics using Inkscape and vinyl stickers. It's usually got like a car theme, but not always. It's usually like vehicles. I do kind of stray off and do other things occasionally. I'm allowed to, right? I don't have to stick to cars all the time. I usually do. In this video, I'm going to do my top pick of my 5 books I use all the time, or my 5 most important books I've come across behind the camera, which I'm not going to show you because it's a mess. There's a bookshelf with about 150 books on it, but these are my 5 most important ones. So if you've got a book that you find useful, leave it in the comments below and I'll check it out. But the other reason for this video is really to keep people inspired to keep going, because I've dipped in and out of art for a lot of years. I do regret not going into an art-based career, but I've always ended up coming back to art, so I'm trying to stick to this now. I've been on YouTube for nearly 6 months, so I'm still new, but I feel like I'm kind of the channel's keeping me committed, so I'm trying to pass that on to you guys and keep you committed so you can create great art too. So enjoy my non-book review of these books. It's because I'm just sharing the pages and letting you have a look. Enjoy my ramblings, and I'll catch you in the next video. Right, first up we've got Figure Drawing for All It's Worth by Andrew Loomis. Now, I almost didn't include this in my list because there must be 1,000 videos on this book already. It's a really popular old book. It's probably the grandfather of figure drawing books that I would imagine most, if not all, other works have been influenced by or based on. It's a decent size. There's tons of information on how to break down the figure. It explains how to put the figure into environments, and you know, once you can draw people and place them convincingly into an environment, you know, the possibilities are endless really for your art. And it's just, every page is just a goldmine of information. It just goes and goes and goes. And obviously the style's dated, but the information is so relevant and so useful. It is well worth having in your collection. I mean, some of these lines, I don't like ambiguous lines. I like definite edges, and some of this is quite sketchy, but it still reads really nice. You know, you can still decipher it. It goes into bones and muscles. I don't tend to get too involved with these because you don't really see bones and muscles on your characters too much, but it's a good foundation. It's a fully comprehensive book that covers everything, light and shade. I love these sort of like polygonal models that he does, so you can light and shade effectively. There's some charcoal, some kind of almost photographic looking illustrations. These are great, but again, not really what I do, but still really useful. And it's just an amazing book. And look at the reference shots he's done, like, you know, paid models to move and pose. It's just it's a great book. I'll just flick through a few pages. Drawing the head. This is how I learned to draw the head. This is kind of etched into my mind now. I can do this blindfold pretty much. I've got to say my heads still don't look as good as Andrew's, but there you go. That'll come with time. Brilliant. Right, on to the next one. Dynamic Figure Drawing by Burne Hogarth. If you've seen any Burne Hogarth's comics like Tarzan, they are amazing. The figure work's brilliant on it. This is actually one of the first books I ever bought on figure drawing, and I was I was impressed and shocked because it's sort of an advanced level. The illustrations are really tight. It's like I love the line. It's like there's a definite edge. You know, when you're trying to learn to draw, you want to know where to put the line. There's some later in the book. There's some sort of charcoaly, sketchy kind of things which they do help, but I prefer like the tightness of all this, the definite edges, because it really helps you to learn where to put your own line work. But as the book progresses, and it doesn't take very long, you soon get into some fairly technical positions. And I mean, this guy, I think there's videos on YouTube of this guy drawing, and he just kind of, it's effortless. And this is like me sort of maxed out, doing my best, and this guy just sort of does it like he's just writing his own signature. It's crazy. He's so the talent he had was incredible. There's a lot of these charcoal illustrations, but as I say, they are. I mean, there's things like this. It shows you the flow, the form, but for me didn't really help. Anywhere where he's used these definite edges, I could do with like a version of this book with just these illustrations, because these are the ones I find that really help me the most. It does explain on the, you know, it's quite easy to digest. There's an image, there's some text. It's not just like a big block of text where you've got to sort of pile through. It is an incredibly visual book, as you'd expect from an art book, but I've come across some art books that are just full of words, and you think, well, show me something, you know. So I can definitely recommend this one, but probably not. This is not a good book to buy first. Let's put it that way. Get some of the other, get the Andrew Loomis book first. It's easier to digest and decipher. I'll just flick through, show you some of these pages. Hands are brilliant. The section on hands is great because it really, he has this way of drawing hands, fingers. They kind of, where the knuckles are, he flares out, then comes into the finger itself, then flares for the knuckle, and then comes back in, and then flares for the next knuckle. And I kind of find myself, I've adopted that, and I've kind of spot this Burne Hogarth-esque hand that I tend to draw now. But you know, what do you expect? This is the book I learned from, so. But it's fantastic book if you can deal with it, if you can handle the sort of the technicality of it. I didn't really want to include two books by the same person, but this is so good and vital if you want to learn to draw figures, because after a few months of drawing people, I discovered that all my figure drawing was of naked people, which has its merits, but for drawing comics and things and normal scenes, normal sort of situations, you're probably going to need to learn how to draw clothing. And this thing is, again, it's just sort of effortless Burne Hogarth. It covers a little bit of what's in the other book I just showed you, but most of it is fabric under tension in every sort of conceivable way, and it is amazing. I love this. It's just so sort of fun to draw, you know. It's just like when you think about it, when you understand the rules of how fabric works, and even if you've just got like a tablecloth or a shirt in front of you, just pull it, just lay it on a flat surface or a curved surface and just experiment, and it's not long before you can kind of pick up basic shapes. You know, this is very in depth, and he obviously knew exactly what he was doing, but you don't have to go to this length to get effective wrinkles in clothing. I'll just flick through this one. It covers men and women. Again, the styles have dated, but obviously the techniques are still relevant. I mean, just look at the complexity. Where would you even start with something like that? I aspire one day I'll be able to do things like this on this channel next year, maybe. The ski is great as well. There's some, there's things like this. This curve. There's a few. I have like a few key illustrations that I kind of refer back to, and you can kind of do this crease effect. There's a few drawings that I keep coming back to in here. But yeah, I use this book all the time, as all 5 of these I do. But it's well worth having, because once you understand the rules of how fabric works, you can get a photographic reference of whatever you're drawing. You can kind of apply those, translate those that understanding into drawing from a photograph. On to the next one. This is Drawing the Head and Figure by Jack Hamm. Again, another old book, but techniques totally relevant. Style's out of date, of course, but so usable. And again, another guy that knew what he was doing, and some very effortless sketches in here. I'm going to say that drawing the way this guy drew the head, I tend to stick to the Loomis method, because if you learn too many different ways of doing something, it can confuse you. So I did sort of skip this section, but the sections on the face, the features of the face, the section, I've never seen anyone explain the ears like this before. There's loads of examples of how to draw ears, which can be. They can catch you out. It's like it's just a C shape with some lines in it, but until you've sat and tried to draw it, there are some very specific things you need to know, and this book sort of covers it really nicely. And he does hair. I've never seen anyone do hair quite like this. It's sort of different ways of drawing: brunette, blonde, dark. Very useful if you can kind of modernise the styles, or not, it depends what you're doing. But there's just a ton of useful stuff, and I constantly come back to this book. There's a great section on hands in here as well somewhere. Section on how to draw overlaps on muscle groups. It's quite useful. Just jump over to this hand section. Again, another section on bones and the skeletal system, but I don't really get I don't have that many opportunities to draw medical drawings, so not worried about that. Yeah, this is like the simplified approach in drawing the hand, and it really does work. It's a nice, easy way to remember. And I found I do have another book on drawing hands. It's just a book, but literally a book. If you imagine something like this with about 60 pages of just hand illustrations, and I can guarantee whatever position hand you want, it will not be in that book. There's hundreds of drawings in it, and you can't find anything. So drawing hands is just like something you've got to just chew through and figure out. Yeah, section on feet. If you're into feet, Jack Hamm's your man. Oh, a little section on clothing creases as well. It's quite handy. It's a simpler approach to Burne Hogarth in the previous book, but obviously doesn't go into the detail the other one does either. But yeah, that's Drawing the Head and Figure by Jack Hamm. And lastly, and definitely not leastly, We've got How to Draw by Scott Robertson, and this is my kind of drawing. This is let's just go this way. Vehicles. Oh, just get into it a little way. Very technical kind of look to it. Everything's got this sort of graphic art college kind of look to it, sort of industrial design. It's got a very thick spine. I'm struggling to hold this flat open for you. I'm hoping you can see this well, but yeah, there's a chunk on perspective which is really useful. I've got books on perspective, but I find that this kind of covers everything you really need to know without getting too complicated, although it does get complicated. But yeah, this kind of covers it just well enough. There's enough in there to get you by, I think, without getting too deep. And it's really it's aimed at, I think, people that want to do sort of actual technical drawing, so it kind of goes a bit beyond what I need to do. For example, these sketches here get very... He breaks one of these down and it gets a little bit too in-depth for what I need to do, because I tend to like to do... This is incredibly precise. It's very sort of CAD, got like a CAD look to it, whereas I'd probably just wing it and hope for the best. I'm trying to make it work. But yeah, things like this. He spends quite a lot of time on these, doing radius in perspective and in three-dimensional space. And it's useful to know, because I no doubt will use it at some point. But I'm more into the basic. I try to keep it simple, to keep things quick. And he does cover these kind of science fiction-y kind of illustrations, and he just sort of, you can see where they've used a felt tip pen to mark out and then go over with a ballpoint pen. I do have the sister book to this. Yeah, it's just like loose concept sketching. I've got the sister book to this, How to Render, which is also really good, but it's not something I use very often. Let me just flick through some of these sketches. But yeah, I mean, I came for the vehicles and stayed for quite a few other bits, but very useful book. And something I is cherished and well used part of the collection. So I hope that's given you some insight into my kind of the things I'm interested in, and the kind of artwork that I admire, really, and want to not replicate, but kind of integrate into my own work. So yeah, that's How to Draw by Scott Robertson. So if you're still with me, thanks for watching. If you've got this far, give me a like, maybe give me a comment if you've got any books that you think are really useful. Let others know in the comments, that'd be great. My name's Dan, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.